Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 270. How you folks doing? I hope the beauty and the incredible joy of the season is filling your viewfinder, and you and your family are just doing great. I want to thank you for stopping by and your continued support of the Moose Podcast. It really means a lot to me. And I do appreciate your emails. Not many questions, but boy, you guys do like to reach out, and you have kind words to say, and I'm very grateful. So thank you very much. I want to thank my good friends at Bedford Cam at bedfords.com for bringing the Moose Podcast to you. Those folks are Santa's helpers on steroids right now. Unbelievably busy. It's great to have that kind of service and inventory right there, and the prices. Remember to mention that Moose coupon, MOOSE, that's me. Get that 5% off after the sale, as well as free shipping, and for a lot of states, no sales tax. So you need good gear, you need it fast, you need to have some information in the process. Bedfords.com is the place. Thanks, guys. Well, let's get right into this week's topic, the second lens. Almost sounds like one of those old-time radio stories of suspense or X-1, but no, photography. Now, I really have lost count, but a gazillion times I've been interviewed or asked to do answer one question, and I guess that people think this is the question that needs to be answered, but they always say, if you only had one lens, what one lens would it be? And I always come back and say, yeah, I don't have only one lens. I have a lot of lenses for a lot of reasons. And it's like that one lens, that's it. You get that one lens and your photographic problems are solved. Now, I personally have a number of lenses. I don't have a ton. I have just what I need to get what I want to tell as far as a story on film. And I have a primary lens for when I go out and shoot. For example, I'm going to photograph birds. It'll be the 800-5.6. I'm going to photograph big game. It's going to be the 180 to 400 VR. If I'm going to shoot air to ground to air aircraft, it's going to be the 180-400, and so on. I have a primary lens that is like my go-to lens for the subject at hand. But I always have at least that second lens. And that second lens, it has to do as much as the primary lens, if not more, because it's the one that's filling in the backstory, you could say. At times, it's the one that becomes the primary lens. The primary lens becomes the second lens. The point is, I have more than one lens to help bring what I see to you, the viewer. And I think that second lens must be just as primary as the primary. Well, let me just, spell this out a little bit more, make more sense to you. So I'm at Bosque del Apache, and I'm photographing the incredible sandhill cranes and the magnificent snow geese and all the other crazy birds, the roadrunners, the sparrows, the quails, all the rest. Now, I'm standing on the dike with all those other photographers in the morning, and on the tripod is 800-5.6, often with its 1.25 teleconverter attached. Into that is the Z6 II. I'm shooting the birds as they wake up, as they stroll around, as their wings stretch, as they take off, and as they fly over to the fields with the 800mm lens. And it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But on my shoulder, on the strap, is another Z6 II with another lens. I've gone mostly with the 14-24 this trip. Now, why? The birds are there, and as they slowly wake up, one or two will start to leave the pond and they go on and do their thing. And then all of a sudden, quite often, a large percentage of the birds, either snow geese, cranes, or both, do a great liftoff. And at first, that liftoff, they're literally just, some of the feet are still in the water. They're just a little bit into the air. And I want that shot. I want to fill the viewfinder. So it's the 800. And I'm going to take, maybe a second or two. So 10, 20 shots with the 800. And then I instantly grab that body with the second lens, a wide angle lens, to get that photograph of them, the big mass that goes from basically the horizon to over my head. There's that many birds that fill the sky. 800 can't do that. It doesn't have the angle of view. I need that 14 to 24. And all of a sudden you've got birds, let's just say snow geese, beautiful white birds. You've got the sun, if everything's really working out for you perfectly, because you never can time the stuff. There's no clock or anything out there that tells the birds it's time to go. And you've got just a whisper of sunrise color. You've got some of that beautiful New Mexico sky with some wispy clouds. And in that process, the birds lift off. So you have just this magnificent white bird, thousands of them, in front of this beautiful, what is that, pinkish maroon, that sunrise that's so unique to New Mexico for a background. And here they come from the horizon over your head. It's a spectacular, spectacular shot. You got to have that second lens. Now, it might be in your pocket. It might be, somewhere on another, like myself, on a second body. But you need to have it set up so you can just take it up and put it to your eye and shoot. That's the reason you have that second lens. And that second lens, it could be anything. So, for example, if we were to go back to that same scenario, but now we're going to do sunset rather than sunrise, it's even though it's still sandhill cranes and snow geese, it's a second scenario is that you're going to have the 800, in my case, on the tripod. And that second lens, this case is going to be the 24 to 200. It's a great lens. It's small. It's light. And the birds are flying in. Sometimes they're flying in just point blank. And that 200 millimeter is perfect to get a grouping of 4 or 5 coming in, and they're flying in towards the sun. It's a gorgeous shot. And that second lens is now for that smaller set of groups coming in to the ponds to rest at night. So the second lens that was apropos for the morning might not be the right one for the afternoon. And there's lots of scenarios we can keep on going. And the point is, you got to think about that second lens. Let's talk about big game for a minute. I was photographing Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep just a couple weeks ago. Primary lens was at 180 to 400. It's got the built-in 1.4, really versatile, incredibly sharp, and for the task at hand, the perfect lens. If you watched the website, you probably saw that photograph, that one nice curl that came up. Smoked my butt. Couldn't focus that close with the 180-400. Yeah, he's less than 15 feet away. I wanted to get that shot. Second lens on his second body. The 24 to 70 in this case, laid down on the ground, took that shot looking up at him. So it's a nonstop kind of scenario. I'm working at air show. The 180-400 is on the Black Rapid strap on my shoulder. The other camera, often the other body will have the 24 to 70. I'm shooting portraits. I'm going to have the most of the time 105 macro on the primary body, and then I'm going to use the 24 to 70 again on the second body. I'm doing landscapes. It's going to be a 7200 often with either the 1424 or the 24 to 70. That second lens, it's that lens for that moment where you go, oh, I need, and that's what that second lens is going to be. And that's what we need to spend the rest of our time talking about. How do you determine that second lens? I know some of you are still, with that challenge of what's going to be the primary lens. And that's a valid question too. And I've put out quite a bit of material on that topic. And that first lens, once you have that settled, then you need to go to the second lens. And the second lens is the lens that, is probably, you could say, that the runner-up to your primary lens when you think about what you want to buy. Let's say you are getting the 500 PF, great little lens, small, light, really sharp, gorgeous little lens, and you want to go after birds. That second lens could be the 7200, could be, if it was me doing it right now, it'd be probably the 100 to 400, and I probably would leave that 7200 at home. And that 100 to 400, when that bird gets really close, because the minimum focusing distance of that 500, you need something that focus closer. The 100 or 400Z might be the perfect lens. So that's what you're going to look at. You're going to look at your primary lens. You're going to look at, you could say, its Achilles heel. What is it not doing for you? In this case, in this example, the 500 focuses down, I think, somewhere around 9 feet, 8 feet, something like that. So you want a lens that has some focal length to it, but focuses closer for when that bird gets closer to you. And it fits on your shoulder. It's not really heavy. I mean, you wouldn't have, for example, your primary lens, the 1424, and your secondary lens, your 600 f4, because you can't just carry that on your shoulder on a strap, right? So it's the second lens is obviously going to be smaller than the first. Now, let's say you're really into macro. I know a few folks like that. You might have both the 105 macro and the new 50 macro. Why would you want to have both macros if you're into macro? One for the second lens. One's at working distance. The 105 has a greater working distance in case you want to introduce flash. And the 50, with extension tubes, you could get greater than 1-to-1 magnification very simply. And that 50 macro is so small, you can put it in little places you could not perhaps put that 105. So you want to look at what your primary lens is and then figure out from that what you need. That's the important part for that second lens. Now, that second lens, it could be totally opposite end of the spectrum. Let's say, for example, photographing birds. Had an occasion a long time ago working on a project with gulls, nesting gulls on an island. Had the big lens, in this case, I had just a 400-5.6 out there with me. And I could only carry two things because I was also busy working. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, I had the 14 2.8. That was the wide-angle lens way back when. I had the totally opposite of each other. And that works really well as a second lens as well. The idea being that, you've got the zoom, and the zoom is kind of like meant to be a second lens built into the first lens. That's that zoom that gives you that versatility of focal length. But there are times, and that's why I still have the 24-1.4, that you might need a wide-angle lens that's got a really fast f-stop, so you have really minimum depth of focus. In determining that second lens, keep your mind open also to the fun factor. what lens also lends itself to what you're shooting to bring out a lot of fun. The first lens that comes to mind personally is the 8 to 15, that fisheye. There is a lot of fun to be had with that lens. It's really versatile because it's a zoom. It's very small and light, easily fit in your pocket, and can complement a lot of different scenarios. I had it out once at Bosque already. That 15 millimeter fish, that 180, horizontal angle of view is just amazing. Yes, you got to watch your tip of your toes. You got to watch tripod legs, but you stick out. You have that funny little bent over pose. You always can tell when someone's shooting with a fisheye, kind of bent over in half. And it just lends itself to a whole nother spectrum that you can't get with that long lens, 5, 6, 800 millimeter lens. And that's the whole idea of that second lens. I get frustrated sometimes when I'm asked, if you only had one lens, what lens would it be? As if, what? All the manufacturers are going to say, okay, we're taking a pull. We're going to make one lens from now on, and that's it. No, they have hundreds of lenses for a really good reason. That's because we all see and want to tell a story about our world differently, and we need to have that lens that matches our imagination to bring it out. And we need to have more than one lens because our imagination should always be pounding on the edges of that wall and pushing it out and saying, this is what I want to share with you. And that's what that second lens is all about. So this season, it's a good time to think about what might be the perfect second lens to find underneath a tree, or more importantly, in your kit. Thanks for spending some time with me. Get out there, shoot. The weather is gorgeous. Landscape is beautiful. Make every click your story.